Have you ever watched a professional speaker and thought to yourself, I could do that? Or, what a cool job. How do you get to do that? Well, that's what happened to me when I saw my first professional speaker. He was speaking at a real estate luncheon. And for the first time, I realized that you could get paid to speak. And that's when my journey from free to fee began, to learn how to get paid to speak, because I was already giving speeches, short little 30-minute things at Rotary clubs and networking meetings. And I was enjoying it a lot. I mean, I really liked it. And people kept asking me to come and speak to their groups. So one speech led to the next speech, but they were always for free. And when I saw that guy speaking at that luncheon, I saw my way out of real estate, because I never intended real estate to be my future long-term, for the rest of my life, career. I saw a way to use what I'd learned as an actor, how to captivate an audience and to tell a story, and to make money doing it. The question was, how? How do you do that to get paid to speak? Who do you talk to? Where do you learn how to be a professional speaker? And the answer came to me one day when a woman who had seen me speak a bunch of times approached me after one of my speeches and told me about the National Speakers Association. And when I said, what's that? She told me, it's a place where they teach you how to be a professional speaker and to get paid to speak. Well, to this day, I thank that lady for setting me on the path to getting paid to speak, to be a professional speaker. Welcome to the Storytelling That Sticks for Business and Life podcast. I'm your keynote, TED Talk, and story coach, Doug Stevenson. In this podcast series, I'm going to share with you some simple and practical storytelling techniques and hacks that will make you stand out from the competition so that you can get paid to speak, or to give a TED Talk that goes viral, or to simply tell your story in a way that makes a difference in the world. I'm going to teach you how to choose, craft, and deliver stories that stick, stories that are marketable and memorable, stories that sell you and your product or service. My job as your virtual keynote and story coach is to help you design and deliver stories and speeches that make money. Now, maybe you want to get more customers, or to finally get the promotion you deserve, or to deliver the best speech of your life. You can do it, and I'm here to help. If you're serious about using storytelling to advance your career, to get paid to speak, or simply to get your message across in a more engaging manner, this podcast is for you. All right, well, let's get started. In this episode, I'm really excited because I'm going to talk to you about what it takes to make the transition into professional speaking, what it's like to be a professional speaker, and how you get people to pay you to speak. I'll tell you how I made the transition from being a real estate agent to a 25-year international speaking career, giving keynotes and workshops all over the world to Fortune 500 companies like Verizon and Caterpillar, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, and Google. Now, you may have no intention or desire to become a professional speaker. I get that. But you're going to find this information relevant in any case, because it's really a story about pursuing your passion and summoning the courage to go for it against all odds, and to change the direction of your life, to make your move towards a more fulfilling life or a more fulfilling career path. This podcast is also an introduction to a series of episodes where I interview professional speakers, people who've done it, people who've built professional speaking careers, people just like you from all walks of life and backgrounds, who figured out how to package their knowledge base, their content and stories into keynote speeches that people pay big money for. So consider this. Professional speakers get paid anywhere from $7,500 to $20,000 or more per speech. So let's do some math. If you did one speech per month at $7,500, you'd make $90,000 per year. And that's only one speech per month. Two speeches a month, You're making $180,000 a year. And that's only getting paid $7,500, which is on the low end of speaking fees, believe it or not. How much do you want to make? How much you making now, and how much do you want to make? Most of the professional speakers I know speak 3 or 4 times a month and are making well over $250,000 a year. Some are making over $1 million a year. Now, let me just ask you, in the job you're in the career field you're in, can you make $500,000 a year? I'm just asking. So before I tell you my story, I want to lay out some things you need to know. Number one, there is no one tried and true formula for how to become a professional speaker. Everybody does it differently. Number two, anyone from any background with or without college degrees or professional credentials can make it as a professional speaker. I'm a college dropout, and I've done just fine and made plenty of money. And I believe I've made a difference in people's lives along the way. And number three, the speaking business is a business. It costs money and time, and it takes a lot of energy. There's a steep learning curve. It's not like any other business because you are the product that you're selling. I want you to hear that. You are the product that you're selling. So you have to be committed to doing whatever it takes to get there and to be willing to make some sacrifices in order to achieve your goal. You have to be, and this is what's really weird, you have to be both humble and extremely self-confident simultaneously. So this is my story of learning how to get paid to speak. It's really cool. After escaping Hollywood in 1985 and leaving acting behind, I moved to Colorado Springs and got a real estate license. Now, I told you earlier how someone came up to me after one of my speeches and told me about the National Speakers Association. It's an association, a worldwide association, but with chapters all over the United States and Canada as well, for professional speakers and for people who want to be professional speakers. So one Saturday, I drove up to Denver and attended a meeting of the Colorado Speakers Association, and I was immediately blown away. There were about 100 people packed tightly into a small meeting room in a hotel, and the energy in that room was electric. And by the end of the meeting, I knew I'd found the answer to how you learn to get paid to speak. You hang out with and learn from people who are doing it and making a living speaking. The National Speakers Association is what I call the university for professional speaking. It's where speakers who have made it teach people who want to make it how to do it. It's just that simple. And that's where I learned the ropes, what I needed to do, from setting up an office to creating a website to learning how to market and sell myself. Practical things like, and this is really interesting, what's the name of your company? I had decided, after a while, I decided that I wanted to call my company Doug Stevenson Unlimited. It sounded good and made sense to me because I wanted people to perceive me as unlimited, right? Until one of the guest speakers at one of the meetings suggested that the name of your company should match the keywords that people are using in a Google search to find you. Well, that was humbling. Remember I said humbling? I mean, come on, no one was searching for Doug Stevenson. I was nobody. And who cared if I thought I was unlimited anyway? So I went home and I thought about it. And I changed the name of my company to Storytelling in Business. And now I show up in Google searches and people find me from all over the world and hire me. That one idea was huge and changed the whole trajectory of my business. You'll learn hundreds of important things like that at an NSA meeting. Now, the National Speakers Association has chapters all over the world, and I highly recommend that you check them out and start attending local meetings. Their website is www.nsaspeaker.org. I'll put that address in the show notes. Now, at that time, back in 1994, you had to prove that you'd been paid to speak 10 times in order to join NSA. That was step number one. So I went back home and started asking people who wanted me to speak to their organization if they could pay me something. Now, the criteria didn't say how much you had to be paid, just that you had to be paid. So for my next speech, I asked them to pay me $25. You know what? They said yes. Well, the next time I asked for $75 and then $150. So there's another lesson. There's another lesson. You need to ask people to pay you. And if you're any good, they'll say yes. Well, up to a point, right? If you're starting out and you ask for $10,000, you might not get it. Another thing I learned at NSA, and you need to figure this out, is that your speech has to fit into a category like leadership or sales or motivation or customer service. There are hundreds of categories out there. And the way you figure out where you and your speech, your content, your ideas fit into the speaking business marketplace is this. Go onto the internet and do a search for Key Speakers Bureau, Key, Key Speakers Bureau. Speakers bureaus are agents for keynote speakers. Key Speakers is one of hundreds of well-known speakers bureaus. They represent everyone from Simon Sinek and Oprah Winfrey to Jamie Lee Curtis and Mark Cuban, and to people like you and me. Now, once you've visited their site, you can use the search filters to explore topics, fee ranges, and more. And that's where I discovered the topic of change. I didn't even know that was a category. But when I saw that, I knew where I belonged. So I developed my keynote titled The Positive Power of Change. And that topic worked for me for many years. Now, once I was getting some traction, I started out getting paid $1,500 for that keynote. And then I raised it to $2,500 and then $3,500 and eventually $7,500 and $9,500 and $12,000. But here's the thing. You determine your value. You put a price on what you have to offer. Nobody else is ever going to offer to pay you more than you ask for. And when you start getting booked regularly at a low fee, you raise it. Like I said before, you are the product you are selling. Your speech and your stories are the elements that make up your offering, your product. But at the end of the day, you're selling yourself. So what are you worth? What are you worth? What do you want to charge for a speech? So the next thing you want to know is, how do you get listed and represented by speakers bureaus, right? And that's a story for another podcast. The whole aspect of marketing and sales and branding, how you get in front of people who can hire you, that's going to be in an upcoming episode. Now, I know you're listening to this podcast because of storytelling. And you know by now that I got my start in speaking because I had a couple of awesome stories. My streaking story, my look for the limo story, my Oscar story, stories that people wanted me to share with their audiences. And after I'd started teaching other speakers how to tell their stories, the way I told my streaking story with all that action and activity, and after coaching over 50 people on their stories and seeing how excited they were to learn these new techniques, one day I realized that I was more fulfilled coaching other people on their stories with my story theater method than I was standing on stages in front of hundreds of people telling my own stories. It was as if I'd achieved my goal of getting paid to speak by doing my Positive Power of Change keynotes. I checked that box. I was a professional speaker. And I also realized out there on the road that I was one of hundreds, if not thousands of speakers in the change category. I mean, look on Key Speakers and you're going to see what I mean. I was basically a commodity in the change space. And I remembered someone at one of the Speakers Association meetings challenging all of us to identify something that we had to offer that was unique to us and our skill set and our background that no one else could offer. And it didn't take me long to realize, because it was pretty obvious, storytelling in business. No one else at that time was teaching storytelling in business. And after talking to Deborah about it, because we're a team and I value her opinion, we made the decision to change our business model, our brand. And I stopped doing change keynotes and started marketing myself as a storytelling in business speaker and trainer. And you know what? It worked big time. As a change keynote speaker, I was speaking regularly all over the United States, but that was it. Just the United States. And after I'd made the switch to storytelling in business, it took some time to take off. But as of now, in 2023, I've been hired to give storytelling presentations in 18 countries. from Japan and Malaysia to Costa Rica and Colombia, from England and Denmark to Spain and Canada. I mean, all over the world. Do you think that change was a good change? I think so. So I'll ask you the same question that I was asked. What do you have to offer? What knowledge, what wisdom, what unique perspective do you bring to the conversation that no one else can offer in the same way? What are you passionate about? And your life experience has given you the background and credibility to talk about it, that you can become an expert in your field. Find that, identify that, develop that, and you have the foundation for a professional speaking career and getting paid to speak. So what are you waiting for? Now, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about what I've discovered about why people hire a speaker or trainer, because you need to know this. They do it because they believe it will improve their bottom line. It will either save them money or make them money. So let me explain. When I'm hired to speak, they agree to pay my fee, my speaking fee, plus round trip airfare, 2 nights in a hotel, car rental if necessary, and all expenses incurred on the road. Now that's a big investment, okay? That's a big investment. And then, and this is where it gets interesting, in many cases, they're paying for a hotel meeting room or ballroom and all of the expenses that go with that. And here's an example of what I mean. I had a booking recently at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, an amazing hotel, a gorgeous hotel for a pharmaceutical company. All right, so they flew in to Las Vegas, about 200 people. That's airfare and hotel rooms for 200 people, right? Plus breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. And then here's the kicker. They had me speaking in 4 different meeting rooms in succession. So I'd speak in a room, walk down the hall, and speak in another room to a different group. 4 different groups in 4 different meeting rooms. I can't even imagine how many meeting rooms they had booked. Are you starting to do the math? How much this is costing this client? This meeting easily cost them at least $250,000. And then, and this is the kicker, then they turn to me. The client is counting on me, depending on me to deliver, to be brilliant, to make them look good, for making the choice to put me in front of their people, 200 people. They spent a lot of money and then they're sticking me up in the front of the room. That's how high the stakes are. And how much is being invested in this one conference. So the only reason that they would do that is because they see it as a financial benefit to the company. It will increase morale and decrease turnover. It will provide skills they need to communicate better, to persuade and influence better, to sell more of their product or service. And so if you want to get paid to speak, you have to have a product, a speech or training that they believe will benefit them. Otherwise, why do it? Why hire you or me? Why hire an outside speaker? Now, before you quit your job and hang out your shingle as a professional speaker, answer the following questions. And you know what? These questions may apply to you as well if you're just considering making a job change or a career change. So, all right, are you ready? Here we go. Number 1, do you have a compelling desire to speak and share your knowledge, wisdom, and stories? Do you absolutely love being the center of attention at the front of the room? That's number 1. That's critical. Number 2, do you have or can you develop a speech or training that people see enough value in to pay you to deliver it, to trust you to come through for them and be a true professional? Number 3, are you relentless when you set your mind to achieving a goal? And I do mean relentless. You don't give up easily. Number 4, are you resilient in the face of rejection as you stumble and bumble forward in the pursuit of speaking opportunities, as you learn through trial and error what works and what doesn't? Number 5, do you have the time and money to invest in this new business? You know, I didn't realize up front how much money I'd have to spend on websites and videos and headshots and on attending conferences and meetings like the National Speakers Association. So one of the things that you got to know is it's going to take time and money. Number 6, and this is huge, do you have the buy-in and emotional support from your partner or spouse? Because if they're not on board and supportive, it's not going to work. And finally, number 7, once your speaking career is happening, once it's taken off and you're getting booked, are you willing to spend a good chunk of your life on the road and away from loved ones, kids, spouses, and your support network? I have spent thousands and thousands of hours and over 2 million airline miles traveling all over the world. I've been in airports. I've been in shuttle buses. I've been in hotels. I've been in conference centers. And I've been all alone on the road most of the time. Now, if you're still with me at this point, and nothing that I've said has dissuaded you from the belief that you have something important to offer, that you can make a difference in the world with your message, with your stories and your content, then the upcoming episodes are really going to inspire you and give you the tools you need to start your journey from wherever you are in your life to the most exciting and rewarding career you can imagine, a professional speaking career. Because I have to tell you, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, like standing on the main stage in a hotel ballroom or convention center, or at the front of a meeting room, and looking out and seeing a room full of people eager to hear what you have to say, knowing that you've got the goods, that you can take people on a journey, that you can move them with your stories and stimulate them with your content. And when your speech is finished, to have people applaud what you've done, and then to have some members of your audience come up to you all excited about what they've learned, what your message meant to them. I have to tell you, and many of you listening know what I'm talking about, it's an amazing and gratifying experience. And what's really, really cool about the whole thing is you're getting paid to do it. You're getting paid to speak. I love that. All right. Well, that was quite a journey. Would you agree? That's it for this episode. Now, if you feel that you learned something valuable today, something that you can use that will make your stories stick, stories that make you and your business memorable, marketable, and monetizable, there are 3 things I'd like you to do. First, click on the follow or subscribe button. And second, share this podcast with your friends and coworkers. Tell them about it. And third, connect with me on LinkedIn. And here's the thing. I just gave you a lot of practical how-to techniques and strategies, but the real trick is applying what you've learned and making it pay. That's where working with me as your coach comes in. So when you're ready to get serious about getting paid to speak, to grow your business by telling amazing stories, or to take full advantage of an important speech that's on your calendar, or to give a TED Talk that goes viral, let's schedule your 30-minute coaching session where we can get to know each other and see if we're a good fit. Sometimes you just got to stop thinking about it and just do it. Hey, the coaching call is free. Come on, let's talk. And make sure you subscribe so you'll be notified about the upcoming episodes. And as always, I'd love to hear from you with your questions and comments. Let me know that you're out there listening and learning. You can send an email with your questions, comments, and suggestions to Deborah@DougStevenson.com. Hey, thanks for listening. Until the next episode, I'm Doug Stevenson.